Now, to maintain the good health of these dairy animals, we should provide them a proper feed, right? So how should we feed our cattle? How should we feed these dairy animals? So these dairy animals, they must be provided a balanced diet. They should be provided a balanced diet. Providing this balanced diet, it ensures continuous supply of milk, continuous high yield of milk, and it maintains the health of these animals. So a balanced diet, it must have both roughages and it should also include the concentrates. So, for providing a good diet to these dairy animals, we should give them appropriate quantities of roughages and concentrates. These roughages, they are low in nutrients. Roughages are low in nutrients, but high in fibers. So these maintain good bowel movements in these dairy animals. So roughages are an important constituent of their feed. So they are low in nutrients, but they are necessary for maintaining a good bowel movement. And these concentrates, they are rich in nutrients. They are rich in nutrients like carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamins. Roughages, they are low in nutrients but high in fibers. And concentrates, they are particularly rich in carbohydrates, proteins and fats. So they must be given to dairy animals in appropriate quantities. We should provide them roughages like fodder, silage, grasses, legumes like berseem, lucerne, and cowpea. Right? So for maintaining good health, we should provide them roughages and concentrates in appropriate quantities. So we should include roughages like fodder, silage, grasses, and some legumes like berseem, lucerne, and cowpea in their diet. Similarly, we should give them some concentrates. These concentrates, they include maize. Concentrates include maize, jowar, barley, oats, cottonseed, oil cakes, and oil cakes. So concentrates, they should be also given to the dairy animals. Concentrates like maize, jowar, barley, oats, gram, cottonseed, and oil cakes, they should be included in the diet. Roughages like fodder, silage, grasses, legumes like berseem, lucerne, cowpea, they should be the part of the diet. So they should be given in appropriate amounts according to the body weight, according to their average production. So this is determined by a veterinary doctor. So we should consult a veterinary doctor for providing a balanced diet to these dairy animals. So both concentrates and roughages, they are important part of the diet. In addition to them, we should also provide these dairy animals with salt licks. Salt licks should be also provided to them in their shelter. So these salt licks, they provide them some important mineral salts like sodium, chloride, right? So they should also be provided to dairy animals. In addition to providing a balanced diet, these dairy animals, they should be given some antibiotics as per need from time to time. They should be given some hormones as per need from time to time. Antibiotics will protect them against the diseases, and hormones, they enhance their growth, right? So for keeping good health of these dairy animals, we have to provide them a balanced ration. We have to provide them a balanced diet. Balanced diet or balanced ration. So a balanced diet or balanced ration, it includes both roughages and concentrates in appropriate quantities, right? So roughages like silage, fodder, grasses, legumes like berseem, glycerin and cowpea, they should be given in appropriate quantity. And concentrators like maize, jawar, barley, oats, gram, cottonseed, oil cakes, they are the concentrators. These concentrators, they are good to taste, they are palatable, and they are easily digestible. Concentrators are palatable and easily digestible. So they should be balanced. And this balanced ration should be given to these dairy animals. And for this purpose, we have to consult a veterinary doctor. We have to consult a specialist who will determine how much concentrates and how much roughages are to be provided to these animals per day, right? So this balanced diet, it maintains a balanced yield. It maintains a good yield of these dairy animals. So that is all about their feeding. Now after feeding, we have to look how to generate more and more dairy animals. So we have to breed them also. So breeding is essential for propagation of these dairy animals. So we will see now how breeding is carried out for propagation of the offsprings in dairy animals. So animal breeding. So what is animal breeding? It is propagation. Propagation of offsprings through sexual reproduction. So to maintain our dairy farm, we have to continuously breed these animals so that we can increase the number of milk yielding cows, and we can also increase the number of cows which will develop into these adults. So for increasing the number of offsprings, we have to breed these animals. So this animal breeding, it is done in two ways, two methods. One is known as inbreeding, and another is known as outbreeding. So what is inbreeding? Inbreeding is the breeding of, is the mating of animals of the same breed, for 4 to 6 generations, to improve the yield and number of offsprings. So animal breeding, it is done in two ways. It is done by two methods. One is known as inbreeding. Inbreeding involves mating of animals of the same breed for 4 to 6 generations only, to improve the yield and to increase the number of offsprings. So this is known as inbreeding. Then we have got outbreeding. In outbreeding involves mating of animals of same breed, but not related. Mating of animals of same breed, but not having common ancestors, or mating of animals of different breeds. So in inbreeding, we do the mating of animals of the same breed. In outbreeding, we do mate the animals of same breed, but they should not be blood related. At least for 4 or 6 generations. So they should have different parents. Although the breed may be same, but their parents should not be related. So they should have no relation in their pedigree. So we choose the animals of same breed. But these animals, they should not be blood related. They should not have common ancestors in their pedigree, at least for 4 to 6 generations, right? Or we mate animals of different breeds. That means we mate animals of different species to produce hybrid offsprings. So this is known as outbreeding. So animal breeding is of 2 types. Inbreeding, in which animals of the same breed are mated together for 4 to 6 generations to improve the yield and to enhance the number of offsprings. Outbreeding, in which animals of the same breed but not related by their pedigree, at least for 4 to 6 generations. Or we make the mating of animals of different breeds. We make mating between animals of different species to form hybrid offsprings, right? So this is known as outbreeding. This is known as inbreeding. Now outbreeding, it is of 2 types. Now outbreeding may be classified into 2 types. One is known as outcrossing. And another is known as crossbreeding. So as I told you, outcrossing, it involves mating of animals of same breed but not related to each other through their pedigree, at least for 4 to 6 generations. So outcrossing is mating of animals of the same breed, but not related by pedigree, at least for 4 to 6 generations. So they should have no blood relations. The animals which belong to same breed should not have any blood relations between them, at least for 4 to 6 generations. This is known as outcrossing. Then crossbreeding. It involves breeding of the animals of different species. So animals of different species are interbred. Right? So this is how we carry out animal breeding. Now first of all, we did inbreeding. So first of all, we will see what are the advantages and disadvantages of inbreeding. So first we will see what are the advantages or disadvantages of inbreeding. So if we look at the advantages of inbreeding, this inbreeding brings homozygosity in the population. So through inbreeding, a pure line of animals is produced. It brings in homozygosity of the genes. So if some desirable genes are in heterozygous condition, to bring them in homozygous condition, we should do inbreeding. So if we mate a heterozygous individual with another heterozygous individual, it will produce definitely some individuals which are homozygous for that trait. So it brings homozygosity in the population for producing a pure line of animals, right? So it is useful in producing pure line of animals, pure line of desired animals. This is the first advantage of inbreeding. Number second, it helps us in accumulation of superior genes. Inbreeding helps us in accumulation of superior genes which govern a desirable trait. So in dairy farming, our desirable traits are high milk yield and good health. So those genes which maintain a high milk yield and a good health of these dairy animals, so those genes can be accumulated. They can be brought in homozygous dominant condition by inbreeding. So it helps us in accumulation of superior genes which govern desirable traits. So that is another advantage of inbreeding, right? Number third, it increases homozygosity. This inbreeding, it increases the productivity of inbred population. It increases the productivity. So when we accumulate superior genes which regulate milk yield and health of the animals, so that will definitely increase the productivity of this inbred population. So the yield of this inbred population will increase. So inbreeding, it has got some advantages. It brings homozygosity in the population. So it helps us to produce a pure line of desired animals. It helps in accumulation of superior genes, so which governs a desirable trait. So those genes which govern some desired trait in these dairy animals, they can be accumulated through inbreeding, and it also helps us in increasing the productivity of this inbred population. But this inbreeding, it has got some disadvantages as well. Inbreeding has got some disadvantages as well. So we will see what are the disadvantages of inbreeding. Disadvantages of inbreeding. This inbreeding, it may lead to expression of harmful recessive genes as well. It may lead to expression of harmful recessive genes as well, as it brings homozygosity in the population. It may accumulate desirable genes. It may accumulate dominant genes in homozygous dominant condition. At the same time, it may also accumulate recessive genes in homozygous recessive condition. So it may lead to expression of harmful recessive genes as well. So that is not desired, that is not liked by these dairy farmers. So recessive characters, they are usually harmful for the animals. So they should not be expressed. And number second, it leads to, inbreeding leads to inbreeding depression. It causes inbreeding depression. This inbreeding depression, it is marked by reduced fertility and productivity. So inbreeding depression, it is characterized by reduced fertility and productivity. So these are the disadvantages of inbreeding. So for that reason, I told you that inbreeding should be continued only for 4 to 6 generations. It should not be carried out continuously, right? If we carry out inbreeding continuously, then it will lead to inbreeding depression. So how we make this inbreeding? How the inbreeding is done? So for doing inbreeding, superior sexes of the same breed are selected first. So we have got a population of a breed. In that population, we sort out the most healthy males, and we sort out most healthy females. Then these superior males and females, they are crossed. They are allowed to mate in pairs. So when we make them to mate, when they are crossed, they will produce their offsprings. These offsprings are raised to adults. Then again from these adults, superior males and superior females, most healthy males and most healthy females, they are again sorted out, and they are again allowed to mate. They are again mated in pairs, and they will produce offsprings again. So we raise these offsprings again, and from these offsprings we raise them to adults again. Then from these adults again, males and females, superior males and females are sorted out. So from these offsprings again, superior males and females are sorted out. So this process is continued for 4 to 6 generations. And this definitely increases the yield, and this helps us to produce animals of a pure line, right? So this method is known as inbreeding. So in inbreeding, we sort out superior sexes of the same breed. So we sort out most healthy males and most healthy females. We allow them to mate in pairs. After mating, the female produces the offsprings. We raise those offsprings to adults. Then from those offsprings again, superior males and superior females, they are again sorted out. They are again allowed to mate in pairs. Then they will produce their offsprings. We will again raise them to adults. From those adults, we will again sort out superior males and females, and we will repeat the process. So this process is repeated for at least 4 to 6 generations. After 4 to 6 generations, this process should be stopped. This inbreeding process should be stopped, because it has been observed that after 4 to 6 continuous generations of inbreeding, they express the inbreeding depression. Then after 4 to 6 generations, inbreeding depression is observed in the offsprings, right? So this is the method of inbreeding. So similarly, we use the method for outbreeding. So how outbreeding is done? or how outcrossing is done. So first we will see how outcrossing is done. Outcrossing. So in outcrossing we have animals of the same breed but which are not related by descent at least for 4 to 6 generations. So we have again animals of same breed. We have animals of same breed but not having any blood relations at least for 4 to 6 generations. So they are also animals of the same breed, but we have to take care that these animals should not be related through their pedigree for at least 4 to 6 generations. So they should not have any blood relations. So similarly we again here sort out superior male and superior female and superior females. So we allow them to mate in pairs. So they will produce the offsprings after mating. These offsprings they will be again raised to adults. Then from these adults again superior males and superior females, they will be sorted out. They will be again allowed to mate in pairs. They will again produce their offsprings. We will raise these offsprings to adults, and from these adults again superior males and superior females will be selected out. They will be again allowed to mate. So in this way this mating is also continued for 4 to 6 generations, or we may continue this process for many generations. So this method of breeding, it is known as outcrossing. So we make the animals of the same breed to mate with each other. But we have to keep it in mind that these animals which we are going to mate with each other, they should not be related by their bloodline. They should not have common ancestors in their pedigree, at least for 4 to 6 generations, right? So what is the advantage of this breeding method? So in this method, there is no threat of inbreeding depression. In outcrossing, inbreeding depression is not observed. So it helps us to overcome the problem of inbreeding depression. It helps us to overcome the problem of inbreeding depression. We experience an inbreeding depression in inbreeding, right? Inbreeding was characterized by inbreeding depression. But when we make outcrossing, this method is best breeding method. It is best breeding method for animals having average productivity. So those animals which have an average productivity, which do not yield too much high quantity of milk, which is not producing higher quantities of milk, or which are not producing low quantities of milk, which are giving moderate amounts of milk, their populations can be easily raised, their populations can be easily maintained by this outcrossing. So animals with average productivity, which are not giving a very high quantity of milk or which are not giving very low quantity of milk. So these animals, their population can be effectively maintained by outcrossing, right? So it is best breeding method for animals having average productivity, and this outcrossing, it helps us to overcome the problem of inbreeding depression. So this is outcrossing. Then we have got crossbreeding. Now we have got crossbreeding. So what is crossbreeding? In crossbreeding, we make a cross between animals of different species. So in this animals of different species are allowed to mate in pairs. For example, many such animals of different species are allowed to mate in pairs to produce hybrid animals. Many such hybrid animals have been produced in India, and they are giving a higher yield of milk. For example, current Swiss. This current Swiss, it was produced at National Dairy Research Institute. It was produced at NDRI, National Dairy Research Institute. It was produced at National Dairy Research Institute in Karnal, Haryana. By crossing brown Swiss with Sahiwal. By crossing brown Swiss with Sahiwal. So in this cross, we made a mating between Swiss brown and Sahiwal to produce current Swiss. Right? Similarly, current fries was also produced. It was also produced at NDRI, National Dairy Research Institute, Haryana. How it was produced? It was produced by crossing Holstein Friesian with Tharparkar. So we are crossing an exotic breed with an indigenous breed here. Brown Swiss, it is an exotic breed. We crossed it with India's best milk producing breed, Sahiwal. Sahiwal is considered to be the best breed of indigenous cows. Sahiwal has got the highest milk yield among the indigenous cows. So we crossed brown Swiss with Sahiwal to produce current Swiss. Similarly, we crossed Holstein Friesian with next best indigenous cow, Tharparkar, to produce current fries. Similarly, Frieswal, we produced another variety that is known as Frieswal. It was produced at National Dairy Development Board, National Dairy Development Board. It was produced at National Dairy Development Board, Anand, Gujarat. Anand, Gujarat. Anand, Gujarat. How it was produced? It was produced by crossing Holstein Friesian with Sahiwal. It was produced by crossing Holstein Friesian with Sahiwal. With Sahiwal. Right? So, we produced Frieswal at National Dairy Development Board, Anand, Gujarat. NDDB stands for National Dairy Development Board. NDDB stands for National Dairy Development Board. It is located at Anand, Gujarat. So at Anand, Gujarat, we produced Frieswal by crossing Holstein Friesian with our indigenous cow, Sahiwal, right? So in this way, through crossbreeding, animals of different species, they are interbred. So in the first instance, Kern Swiss was produced by crossing brown Swiss brown with Sahiwal. Then we produced Kern Fries by crossing Holstein Friesian with Herperkar. Then Frieswal was produced by crossing Holstein Friesian with Sahiwal, right? All these crossbred animals, they have got high milk yield. For example, Kern Swiss and Kern Fries, they yield Kern Swiss and Kern Fries. They have got an annual yield of 3,500 liters of milk during a lactation period. They have got a lactation period of 320 days. So they have got a higher lactation period. They give milk for 320 days of a year and they produce 3,500 liters of milk, right? Similarly, we have got Frieswal. It gives 5,000 liters of milk during a lactation period of 325 days. So Kern Swiss and Kern Fries, they produce 3,500 liters of milk during a lactation period of 320 days. While as Frieswal, it produces 5,000 liters of milk during a lactation period of 325 days, right? So in this way, by crossbreeding, we are able to produce hybrid animals with higher milk yield. And the examples are here Kern Swiss, Kern Fries, Frieswal. So they have been produced by making a cross between an exotic variety and an indigenous variety. So when we made the cross, we got the hybrid animal, Kern Swiss, Kern Fries and Frieswal, with a milk yield of 3,500 liters, with a lactation period of 320 days, and in case of Frieswal, 5,000 liters of milk during a lactation period of 325 days, right? So in this way, crossbreeding, it has helped us to produce animals with higher milk yield, right? So that is all about animal breeding. So we must also know here, Dr. V. Curie. We must also discuss here the contribution of Dr. V. Curie. Dr. V. Curie, who is the founder chairman of, he is the founder chairman of National Dairy Development Board. National Dairy Development Board. Dairy Development Board, 1965. So this National Dairy Development Board, it was established by Dr. V. Corin in 1965. And it was Dr. V. Corin who started Operation Flood. Operation Flood in India in 1970. So Operation Flood, or it is also known as White Revolution. White Revolution. It was brought about, this White Revolution, it was brought about by Dr. V. Corin in 1970 in India. And it made India, this Operation Flood made India the largest milk producing country of the world. So it was the effort of Dr. V. Corin and his team. Dr. V. Corin, who is the founder chairman of National Dairy Development Board in 1965. So the National Dairy Development Board, it was formed in India in 1965, and Dr. V. Corin was its first chairman, right? He started Operation Flood in 1970, or this is also known as White Revolution. So he brought about White Revolution in India, which made India the largest milk producing country of the world. So through this Operation Flood, milk production was very much enhanced. It was highly enhanced in India, and it made India the largest milk producing country of the world, right? So that is all about animal breeding. Thank you for being with me.